Hi everyone, I'm here today with Heather Hughes, entrepreneur, somatic movement advocate, and one half of the team behind the Balanced Beauty Pro. Hi Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Jess. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, to get started, can I ask you a bit about your background in the beauty industry?
Yeah, certainly. I spent about 13 years working in the beauty industry. About 8, 9 years of those were in the UK. I'm originally from the States. And I was working for a lash extension brand where I was doing a variety of things, but part of my job there was also training teams on lash extension techniques.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so I suppose that leads us on to the conceptualization of the Balanced Beauty Pro, what we're here to talk about. So, what caused the idea for this course?
So it all came about while I was working in the industry for about 10 years, I had towards the end of it chronic headaches and neck tension. And I was doing everything I could to try and resolve this. So I was doing chiropractic, massages, all the things. And nothing really seemed to give me long-lasting results. And eventually, so when I was training, teams for lash extensions, you're bent over all day. I'm really looking at the lashes in my neck. And at the end of basically every training session, I was just in so much pain. It just made it worse. And then I just decided that I couldn't do that anymore. So I stepped away from the training and then I really focused on more of the business side for the brand I was working with. And I always enjoyed the training and I felt kind of sad that I felt like I couldn't do that anymore. And then fast forward, I actually, in 2020, during the pandemic, I found this amazing movement system called somatic movement, which we're going to talk about. And within a few months, it resolved the chronic tension and the headaches. And I was really amazed because I'd spent all these years, trying to figure out what was going on. And this simple movements that I was doing 20 minutes a day really just resolved everything. And I felt amazing. At the same time, my sister Tiffany, she's a professional lash artist and she's in the States. And she's also explaining to me that, her back was hurting. She was having pains, from working. And I showed her what I learned and I helped her resolve some of her issues as well. And so she started feeling better at work. And just the aha moment kind of happened then and there.
That's amazing. Obviously, somatic movement, as you mentioned, can you, in sort of simple terms, describe sort of what that is and how it differs from practices that people may have heard of, like yoga or, traditional exercise?
hmm So it's quite unique. So it's not spiritual, so it's not like a meditation or it's not a workout. But what it is, it's slow, conscious movements that you are moving the body in a way, you're contracting the muscle. And then as you release the muscle, you're releasing it against gravity. So it's, for example, if we contracted, say, the elbow up, then we are releasing it for 30 seconds. And during that 30-second release, we are connecting with the body. So you're visualizing those muscles contracting, and then you're visualizing them letting go. Now, what this does, it actually works with the nervous system. So the nervous system controls muscle tension. And that's one thing that I actually didn't understand when I was going through, all of my aches and pains. The way the body works is that the nervous system will control how tight the muscles are, and it also controls how to release those muscles. So when we move the body in this slow type of movement, and then we are visualizing the contraction and the release, then we are teaching that nervous system to reset its resting level of tension.
Wow, that's so interesting. And obviously, it all feels like it all connects very much within the body. And we're always told, everything connects. It really
Hmm.
does. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. So, in terms of this course itself, it's the Balanced Beauty Pros, the course. Can you give me a bit of insight into what it will entail and involve?
Yes. So the course is really, it's a four-step program. So at the core of the course is the somatic movement.
Mhm.
Um, if someone said that I'm super in pain, I just need to learn these movements, I don't have time for everything else, then we've designed it where they can jump right in and learn the movements.
Mm.
And, at the end of 3 to 4 weeks, they'll have a daily routine that they can do. And the movements will actually address like the common postures across all beauty professions. So nail artists, lash artists, hairstylists. Um, but the four steps that we really integrate into the program is the first step is to connect with the body. So often that, we have the pain, we feel like our body's against us. And if there's a profound change that happens if you can learn to listen to the body. So rather than like, oh, like my neck is really killing me today, it's just a small change of mindset of, wow, my body is trying to tell me something. It wants some love and attention on my neck. So I'm going to go home later and I'm going to help you out, body. It's kind of like a conversation. So um, so that's the first step. And then the second step is we look at ergonomics and we look at the workstation setup. So what can you do in your working environment that will help you also attain better posture? Because a lot of times what people don't realize is small, tiny movements can make a really big difference. So, for example, if you are a nail artist and you are always bending to the right to dip your brush, that little bend day after day, always to the right, can actually cause the muscle contraction on the right side of the body. So, while you may not feel like and you may not look like this, internally the muscles are contracted on the right side. So then the next step in the program is to learn the movements and you learn to identify where your muscle contractions and your patterns are. And then you use the exercises to address your own unique patterns. And then the last step is really just to create a daily routine. So you learn the movements, you have the new mindset, you've optimized your workstation, and then you have your own little daily routine that works just for you.
That's amazing. And it's really nice that it's very digestible in the four sort of stages. And speaking of digestible, you've created an online course, and that was because of the fact that it would be accessible and digestible for participants. So, how important was it to make this course like accessible for beauty professionals?
Yes, it was really important. And, like I said, we designed it with a bit busy professional in mind. So if someone said, I really it in all, it's about 15 to 20 minutes of learning per day, and you will finish in about 4 to 6 weeks. But if someone says, I don't have 15 to 20 minutes a day, I would argue they probably need our course more than the other person. But then we can easily break it down into, okay, like you can jump right into learning the movements. And each movement, there's the video can range from 2 to 5 minutes. So you learn the movement and you'll do that movement, say 5 minutes a day for that week. So there's ways that you can approach this as well.
That's fantastic. So a beauty professional's day, they could fit it in around what they're doing because obviously beauty professionals are incredibly busy. And in terms of that, the beauty industry itself, do you feel like it's become an increased focus in the beauty industry, caring for one's body and self-care in that way?
Um, yes and no. So it's really interesting. When I originally did the research, I couldn't find anything specifically for beauty professionals like we've created. Maybe it does exist, but it didn't seem readily available, something that addresses specific needs, such as raised shoulders, head forward, nail artist posture. Um, and I think there's definitely more talk about bringing wellness to the service side. I mean, of course, we're always talking about giving our clients wellness, what can we do to make our clients feel better? And I just feel like that's mainly the topic. And I would like to, we would like to bring conversation of, okay, well, in order to bring wellness to our clients, we have to be well. So I think there has to be more talk about that. And when we also talked with other professionals and did our research, most everyone said that they learned the skills in school, but they didn't learn how to care for their body. No one really spoke about career longevity or, what could happen if, you stay in this posture for 10 years or, how to counteract the daily postures. So I think that's really important, getting down on this to the specifics, not just take care of your body, have good mental health, it's really drilling down in, well, how do we do that? And I think that's where we're trying to step in.
100%. And you were saying there about, advice that people give. And I was just wondering if you could go back to the start of your beauty career in the beauty industry. What would be a piece of advice you would now give yourself or others starting out?
Uh, Definitely what I learned, and I think, the advice we're trying to give as well, is that we have the ability all within ourselves. So I spent all those years seeking help outside of myself. So there's nothing wrong with the services that I tried, all the hands-on therapies, and they're all amazing and they have their place. But for, to help counteract this daily posture, chronic symptoms, it turns out that it was all something that I could do. So I think I think it's really important that people, the advice I would give is, look inside. And I know, does that sound cheesy?
Not at all. Not
Yeah.
at all. It's we're stuck with us for the rest of our lives, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it might as
Yeah.
well come from inside for sure.
And well, I was just going to add on to that is that I didn't have a relationship with myself. My body was kind of like this other person, I was like, my neck's always trying to hurt me, or my neck is playing up today. And so it was always like a third person. And then once I kind of integrated that into me, then everything changed.
Speaking of sort of your personal side of things, how has building a business with your sister been?
Oh, you know what? It's been amazing, and I'm sad she's not here, but she will be present in the future. Obviously her being in the US and I'm over in Europe, then that's a challenge. But it's been great. The one thing I will say, she's younger than me.
Mhm.
And but I've also been right beside her through her lash extension career, which is really been really fun to watch. But yeah, I think we kind of started out, we have way different approaches to working. I love a task list, and I like to do a little bit each day to kind of mark off that list. And she's more like cyclic. She'll do a whole bunch of things and then she goes away and then she comes back and does a whole bunch. So it's just it's been interesting, but we're still sisters and we haven't gotten a fight yet. So
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's always like that, isn't it? You have very different types of personalities, even though you come from the same family. That's really interesting. Um,
yeah.
in terms of your own personal routines, how are these reflected in the practices taught on the Balanced Beauty Pro?
Yeah, pretty much everything that I learned. So um the somatic movement is the core. Every day I have a routine. So this morning I get up and I lay my mat out, and it's just really nice. It's kind of like my own time, and it's 20 minutes. I set a timer so that I'm not worried about the clock or anything, that I can just truly be present. So, um, it's been I've been doing this for 5 years and I still feel incredible. So, for me, that's my ground, is doing that routine every day. And if I don't make it, if something comes up, it's not the end of the world. So, as long as I can get it in, a few times a week for sure. But also I think when the other elements of the course, definitely the mindset, and we also kind of hint of highlight kind of having some gratitude as well for your body. And I do try and incorporate everything that we teach into my daily routines.
Yeah, so in terms of the physical and emotional side, obviously there's very different things that need to be cared for. Will the course cover both of these things sort of equally? Will it delve into the emotional sort of and mental side of the body as well as the physical side?
Yeah, I would say we touch on the emotional and mental side, but that's kind of like our first step. So it's a let's get into this mindset that our body is working for us, and let's be thankful. And so, but we don't spend a whole lot of time, we're not trying to dive deep in this. We're just trying to kind of present a new way to look at things. And then we also go into the science behind it because that's really important. There's a whole lot of science behind it. And actually, in fact, when I first wrote the course, Tiffany had to say, it's a bit much. So I had to actually go down and remove a lot because she said, we're beauty professionals, we're not scientists. So then, there is the science, but it's very straightforward and concise. And it just explains how the nervous system, the role it plays in chronic tension and postures. Because if you just start the exercises, that's okay. But it's really important to know why they're working and how they're working. And if you know the hows and the whys, then you're going to get better results because you're also going to be more inspired to continue your journey, not just do it for a couple of weeks and say, oh, that felt great, and then you leave it. And also, another benefit of this is that you become more body aware. So as you progress your routine, your exercises over time, you actually start to notice when your shoulders are held forward or your neck is, tensed and tight. And what that does is that allows you to kind of, reposition yourself and hold yourself in a better way and address those postural habits, with your routine.
That's amazing. So though the course is a sort of a short-term thing in itself, it
Mhm.
produces long-term benefits. Is that what you basically are trying to do?
Oh, yes. So
Yeah.
what's one of the key elements of somatic movement that we're teaching is that this is to help you become self-efficient. So the idea is that you have this course, you have these exercises, and they are for life.
Mhm.
So outside of the beauty industry, the exercises are really used, can also be used for your entire life. And what they do is they realign the spine. Okay. And so even into old age, it will counteract that old age posture. So it's kind of a myth that when we get old, we're supposed to stoop. We don't have to. So if we did these exercises and we worked on our alignment each day, by the time we are into old age, the stoop is not inevitable. So, you know, the course is amazing for your career and it can help you get career longevity, but it's also amazing just outside and general your day-to-day life.
That's fantastic. So someone who attended the course or attended the online sessions, would they then what would their day look like onwards from there? Would you be encouraging them to incorporate long-term 10 minutes a day, or what would the sort of
Mhm.
timing be like for that?
Yeah, so we actually cover this in the last module of establish a daily routine. So there's a few ways that you can look at this, or that you could approach it. We really recommend 15 to 20 minutes of the movement a day. So it could look like if you go to yoga, it could be 15 minutes after yoga because it replaces static stretching. So you will no longer need to hold stretches because those are they produce temporary results. So, or you go to the gym and you would do 15 to 20 minutes as your cool down and your stretch. the somatic movement. So it could look like that. So it could integrate into your current lifestyle. Or you could start something totally new and you can do just 15 to 20 minutes on your mat each morning. If you don't have that in the morning and say you only have time for 10, so you would do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. Or if you have the ability and the privacy to do it at work, you could bring your mat and you could have, 15 minutes at lunch. I mean, it's really all about integrating it into what works for you. But that's really all it is, just the movement. Once they learn the movements and they understand.
That's fabulous. So logistically, if we just sort of cover that again, so it's 15 to 20 minutes per day for about 4 to 6 weeks. Is that
Yeah, that's to learn all the content and to learn the moves. And then after that, 15 to 20 minutes a day of your movements on the mat.
that's fabulous. So if you were to meet someone at the moment who is experiencing pain, they worked in the beauty industry, they're experiencing pain, what would be your first piece of advice you'd give them?
Um, well, besides take our course, I think it's interesting. I do talk to people. We've had some people, some professionals who've been testing our course. And, they've actually said, well, I'm already currently in pain. So I think my first advice is to, well, one, determine if it's something like an underlying condition, because that's really important to note that, it's important that you've gone for tests, you make sure there's nothing physically wrong, because then you would want to address that first. But if you've had the x-rays, the tests, everyone says you're totally normal and you're still having this pain, then we're a good place to come to. But I think my advice would be to be nice to your body and to listen to it, and just kind of going back to that mindset, because there is something to be said about when we're in pain or discomfort. It doesn't even have to be pain. Sometimes people have told me that they have this tingling all the time or just discomfort. Maybe we can look at it from a different perspective of just, oh, that's a message from my body. And then you can even imagine just giving it a hug. I know that sounds strange, but it actually calms the nervous system, and that can reduce pain on its own without even any physical intervention. But yeah, I just advise that was my first, that's always kind of my first go-to is, well, what's your relationship with it? How do you talk to your body?
hmm That's really interesting to see the emotional side of how it can sort of affect the body. And I suppose, had a question about what would be, it might be that, but what would be the most underrated sort of thing that you incorporate into your routine?
Um, I think that's it,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people go straight to the physical, and that's what I did for all those years. I bought, you know, the balls. I bought this like weird cane thing that went over my shoulder to work out the knots. I basically had these knots in my shoulders that never went away. I did all the devices, all the heating pads, the patches, and I went to the physical aspect. And I can personally say that maybe some of them helped, but once I got down to the mind-body connection and emotional aspect, then obviously, and the somatics, but the somatic movement is a mind-body, movement. So things changed. So yeah, definitely. I think that's important.
Amazing. And if there were a person who was wanting to find out more, where can they find you? Online, on socials? What's the sort of, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a website at thebalancedbeautypro.com, and we actually have a free exercise that is available for download now. And I love this exercise that we've given because it is a great example of the type of movement. So rather than me try and verbally explain how these movements work, you can go in and you can actually see what I'm talking about of contracting the muscle and then slowly releasing it. And then you can feel immediate results. And if you did this exercise over 1 to 2 weeks, then you're going to see, more and more results. So, yeah. And then obviously we're on Instagram and TikTok.
Is there anything else you want everyone to know about you and the course?
Um, I think I would just end with this. We talked a lot about mind-body connection and the emotional side of this as well. But if anyone does not connect with that or they feel that's not for them, they actually can jump right into learning the movements. It's not very heavily focused on the emotional aspect, but it is there if they would like it. So you can kind of dip your toes in and out, whatever suits you best. So it's really is for everyone.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me, Heather. I think I'm probably going to go and have a look at that exercise now.
Great. Yeah, it's for everyone. So definitely give it a try.
Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you.